Welcome and thanks so much for watching. I'm really excited to see all of you in Austin, but since I can't be two places at once, I also want to make sure that you know as much as possible about the Code Challenge before you go so that you can help folks at the show while I might not be at the booth. So the first thing to know is the web address, CodeChallenge.dev. We'll have QR codes for folks who will be able to scan them with their phones, but actually for level 2 and above, they might want to use laptops. And so that's why we've got the URL as memorable as possible. Also, please go sign up for the challenge yourself before we get to Austin. That way you kind of understand the authorization flow. Users are going to have a GitLab.com account, and they'll have to authenticate with OAuth and into that account to then log into GitLab into CodeChallenge.dev. Once they're signed in, users will see this screen if they want to join the challenge. That's where they can provide their name, first name and last initial, and they also have to acknowledge the rules for the challenge. And from there, they're ready to start tackling levels. Each of the levels is described in detail on the site, but basically they all require you to start with forking an example project that's linked from the challenge page on GitLab.com. And then whenever they complete a level, that completion will show up on the leaderboard and on their challenge page within the next 5 to 10 minutes, typically. I've described each of the levels here in much more detail, but just to quickly cover them, level 1 requires the entrant to make any MR to the main project. Level 2 specifically requires an MR that has SAS scanning added to it. Level 3 is a little bit more complex. The pipeline is failing even on the main branch of this project. So they'll have to troubleshoot that to find out that there's a linting error in the README. And for bonus points, container scanning is actually also failing, but is allowed to fail. They can try and update the container that is getting built to try and get rid of those warnings. But all they really have to do to get the pipeline to be green, and they'll pass the level. And then finally, level 4, which we actually never really anticipated people doing at the conference, it involves contributing to GitLab. So 6 people actually did do this at KubeCon, so it's possible folks will again, but this is going to require manual verification. So have them tag me in the MR if they do accomplish this, or I'll also show you how to mark folks as complete a little bit later if there's an issue with the automated system in any way. And so let's look at determining if that entrant has completed the level. Like, how do we know when we're at the booth if they're done? So there's 3 main ways to do this. There's a leaderboard up on the wall of the booth. This will update every few minutes and refresh with the latest completions at the top. However, if you sign up for the challenge before next week, like I mentioned earlier, and let me know, I can make you an admin on the challenge, where you can then look up on your computer or on your phone any entrant and see their status under details. You can search, and we'll see that a little bit later as well. And lastly, if you don't have access to that even, you can still verify in person with an entrant or a user by having them show you their phone, logged into the challenge. You'll see this completion status right at the top of their, open source North America challenge page. You can see level 1 and level 3 are completed here for this user. And when we're in Austin, Amanda and Erica will walk us through more logistics around the prizes, but just as a preview, if you complete level 1 and level 2, you get a cool little hot sauce. Level 3, you get tacos at our taco truck event. This could be very popular as there's not lunch from the show that day. And then lastly, if you contribute to GitLab, we'll give you a gift card for swag in the GitLab swag shop. And if it's your first time contributing, there's some fun little first time contributor swag that happens naturally as well. So that's the basics. The only other thing I wanted to cover was this, how to manually verify someone. So if I go to details here, if there's some glitch in the matrix and the automated completion didn't work, I can go here, I can search by their GitLab username or their name, and then I can see that this person, Brendan O'Leary, hasn't completed anything. But if they actually completed level 2, I can click on that little green checkbox and add in a link optionally to the MR that they actually made, and then click add, and that will mark them as complete. So great. So thanks so much for watching. Bring any questions you have to the OS NA 2022 channel in Slack. I'll be around the whole week next week, but again, do have some obligations, like I'm speaking on Wednesday, a few other things that'll take me away from the booth here and there. You can also always get me on my cell phone, which is in my Slack profile. It's here as well. iMessage, SMS, WhatsApp, Signal, all work on that number. Anyway, travel safe, and I will see you in Austin. Great, thanks.